Hi guys! Today I'm going to review the 1959 version of The Hound of the Baskervilles. The Hound of the Baskervilles came out in 1959 and is a Hammer production. It was directed by Terence, who was Hammer's most famous director at the time. Peter Cushing stars as Sherlock Holmes in this film, and he's also teamed up again with Christopher Lee. The screenplay was by Peter Bryan and is based on the novel The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1902 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. André Morell plays Dr. Watson, and him and Peter Cushing were also in a film called Cash on Demand. This is the first adaptation to be filmed in colour and is a remake of the 1939 Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes film. Music was by James Bernard. The film runs 87 minutes. There were a lot of changes made to the novel, and the Conan Doyle estate did not approve of them. However, the film did well at the box office. The film stars Peter Cushing, André Morell, Christopher Lee, Marla Landi and David Oxley. So this is almost like a remake of the 1939 version with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. Unfortunately, it's not as good in my opinion, so I'll probably get some flack. Oddly enough, the prologue, first 10 minutes, it's a flashback sequence. That's actually the best bit of the film. I really enjoyed that. Where you say years ago the Hound attacking. It had that certain look that early Hammer films have. Good atmosphere. The film actually looks quite expensive looking, even though it probably wasn't. But I do have problems with the film, and oddly enough, it's Peter Cushing's performance as Sherlock Holmes. He said he was trying to make it more authentic to the source materials, the novels. A little bit like Timothy Dalton did with Bond. So they're sort of like similar. Cushing was a fan of Sherlock Holmes and brought his knowledge to the project. He reread all the stories and made detailed notes in his script, and he wanted to play Holmes as close to the source material as possible, unlike other actors who've played Holmes. Christopher Lee said later that he was awestruck by Cushing's ability to incorporate different props into his performance, whether he's smoking a pipe, drinking whiskey or moving papers about. André Morell also wanted to portray Dr. Watson as close to the source material as possible, not wanting to be compared to Nigel Bruce's interpretation of the role. Peter Cushing would play Sherlock Holmes again in 1968 in the TV series Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. The first season was in 1965 and Holmes was played by Douglas Wilmer. However, Peter Cushing took over for season 2 that was made in 1968. 16 episodes were made, however only 6 survive, which includes a 2-parter, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Plans were made for a 3rd season, however this didn't happen. Although Peter Cushing would return playing Holmes again in 1984 for a TV movie, Masks of Death. But the way Peter Cushing plays the part, it's like high energetic. It's kind of almost unsuitable for Cushing's talents because he's playing the part as though it's like high energy. A bit like Jeremy Brett played the role years later.
What do you want me to do? Identify anything I may find. Strange things are to be found on the moor. Like this, for instance.
And he just seems unsuitable in the part. It's not him. And when I do watch him in this film, I keep thinking of Van Helsing.
Some revolting sacrificial rite has been performed. What depth a human being can sink to.
Hey, Phil! Why is Peter Cushing crap in this one? I don't know, Bones. He must have had an off day. And André Morell, who plays Watson, there's no real chemistry between them two, Cushing and Morell. But oddly enough, a few years later they were in Cash on Demand, a thriller that Hammer did, and they were both excellent in that film. Great chemistry between them in that film, but there's none in this. However, the film does have good points. It looks really expensive, and that's probably down to Terence Fisher's direction. He seemed to get the most out of sets and location work, and his films always look more expensive than what they actually do cost. Christopher Lee's in this film, and he looks surprisingly young. I'm used to him looking a bit older, but he looks like a real young lad in this film.
We have not yet been given an opportunity to introduce ourselves.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Please let me. Sir Henry, let me introduce Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Sir Henry Baskerville.
I'm afraid you're a little late, Mortimer. I've already managed to make quite a fool of myself.
And I like his chemistry between him and the girl in the film. So there's a good twist at the end. It really surprised me. One poor thing about this film is the Hound looks poor. You can tell it's just an ordinary dog. It almost looks like he's having fun with the actors. That bloody dog's not attacking the actors. It's bloody licking them. There's a comic character in this, Miles Malleson. He was also in Dracula, and he was unfunny in that as well. So they have these characters for comic relief to try to break the tension up in these Hammer films. And this one, he's so unfunny in this film.
Let's see. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's done the trick, yeah. Come here, come and have a look. Wow, he's gone. Henry, yes, and Judge, the prettiest mother and baby. You know, dear old Sir Charles, he loved doing that. Yeah, he did indeed. Yes, I remember one occasion when one of the babies went, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Eh? I don't bloody get that. Eh, hell, he's about as funny as my bloody ass. Another thing what Hammer were trying to do, they were trying to mix the Sherlock Holmes films with the Hammer formula. So it was a weird mixture. They tried to do the best of both and they ended up with nothing. For instance, the music's it's unsuitable. It's more like a vampire film. And the titles are as well. They're your traditional Hammer titles that you see in horror films.
The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Also, with the plot of Hound of the Baskervilles, Holmes is out of the story for quite a while. So you don't see Peter Cushing all that much in this film, just the beginning part towards the end. But the bit in the middle, you don't see much of him. I think the problem with me is I'm comparing Cushing's performance to Basil Rathbone's, who's my favourite Holmes. And also, I can't help but compare him to Jeremy Brett's, who's my second favourite. So Cushing kind of comes across as a bit bland compared to them two. So it's kind of like one of his poorest performances. That and when he played Doctor Who as well, that was poor. Which is surprising because he's usually brilliant in films, but I didn't like him in this. Peter Cushing was bloody awful playing Doctor Who. He was walking around as though he'd shit himself. Yes, boys, he does look like he shit himself in that film. So overall, I was disappointed. So out of 10, it's still watchable, but I've got to give it a 6. 6 out of 10. What did you think, Bones? Did you like it? Thought it was a load of crap, Phil. Basil Rathbone's the best Sherlock Holmes. Okay, everybody, bye. Like, subscribe and share. Bye. Bye.